And we're live. Very slightly late, but in these wild and crazy times, slightly late. What's that even? Time really doesn't have any meaning anymore. And hello, Megaleech, how are you? Ooh, mixed a fruit juice. Very manly colour. It looks a bit peachy there. It's actually a bit more pink in real life. Ooh, should I put a zing of the chili liqueur in it? That's always livened up a drink when I've put it in. Hello, Lion Spider, and Don't Trust Society. Hope everyone is having a good evening and carrying on. That was my birthday. My birthday was good. It was baked goods extravaganza. I don't think they even really did it for my birthday, but Young Mazangri made cinnamon and date scrolls, which were really good. Mrs. Angry made a really yummy spanakopita and apple and berry pie. So it was 3 different fresh baked goods on my birthday that I was quite happy with. I was going to do like a birthday live stream, but then I thought I would prefer to actually just spend the evening with Mrs. Angry, watching some stuff on the telly, as you do in these self-isolation times, rather than going out to the movies. I didn't actually watch movie. Watched some TV shows. Watched a couple of episodes of Lock and Key, relatively new show on Netflix, adaptation of a comic series. It was good. It's intriguing. Got us in 2 episodes. Going to stick with that one. It's good. And we watched the final episode of Devs, which was also pretty good. G'day to you, David. I hope you're going well. Lines Parrot would have been well sugared up. Yeah, with the cinnamon date scrolls that also had like an icing glaze on them, and then an apple and berry pie later. It was a pretty sugar-filled day. Might not have had a birthday cake as such, but a lot of sugary treats, definitely. Shelf Warmer, hello and good evening to you. I hope you are well as well. Oh my gosh, you did an essential supply run and filmed it for the channel. Because you're really locked down, aren't you? Like you have to really, really be doing essential supplies to leave the house. I went to the supermarket today, but there aren't really restrictions on me. Adele, hello, happy birthday. Happy Monday, I should say. Oh, yes, you saw the picture of my scrolls. Yes, Musical Aviator, happy 24, although as the American stoners and the aficionados of American stoner culture insist on saying 420. If I remember rightly, is was the first time marijuana was legalized anywhere in America, if I remember right. I know it's got to do with marijuana legalization. Oh, actually, no. Okay, I'm looking it up on Wikipedia. I thought it was a relatively recent thing. I'm looking up. Hey, Justin, how you doing? So, according to Wikipedia, in 1971, 5 high school students in San Rafael, California, used the term 420 in connection with a plan to search for an abandoned cannabis crop based on a treasure map made by the grower, calling themselves the Waldos because their typical hangout spot was a wall outside the school. The 5 students designated the Louis Pasteur statue on the grounds of San Rafael High School as a meeting place, 4:20 p.m. as their meeting time. Waldos referred to this plan as 420 Louis, After several failed attempts to find the crop, the group eventually shortened the phrase simply to 420, which ultimately evolved to a code word the teens used to refer to smoking cannabis. Steve Hager of High Times was responsible for popularizing this story. Okay, and it was first having the idea of the 420 holiday, 20th April in American speak, was first came up in May 1991. I was completely wrong. I thought it was a relatively recent thing, the first time it was legalized. Ah, there you go. So people have smoke-ins to say it should be legal, and of course it is legal in increasingly more areas. I like, David, you had an essential supplier of bottled vodka. I got some, well, it wasn't vodka, but I got some booze delivered. Ah, Megali, she got bitters and Midori. That's good vital supplies. It definitely should be legal in Australia. I don't know if there's much of a groundswell. The thing. It just should be legalized and sold. Look at the American model. The states that legalized it make a fucking fortune in tax. We need a proper impairment test. Like, you get a breathalyzer for booze that gives a reasonable blood alcohol content reading, and we have a solid body of scientific evidence that goes, a blood alcohol level of this means an impairment of this, which means you shouldn't be driving. To the best of my knowledge, we don't have such a test for marijuana or other drugs. We have the bullshit drug testing they do now that just says, we found traces of the drug in your system, you're busted, where there is no measure of impairment at all. And that's absolutely complete bullshit in my book. So, yeah. Justin, did I hear about comparison to Trump protesters? Yes, there was that great shot. Someone, because for anyone who missed it, lucky you, a bunch of Trump fans protested lockdown laws, and Trump avidly cheered them on. They were protesting restrictions to, stop as many people dying quite so suddenly from coronavirus. And they were, basically protesting at state capitol buildings. And one where they were banging on the doors, and someone inside, the glass doors, took the picture, and all these mungos are banging on the glass, whoa! And it looked remarkably like shots from Day of the Dead, or the sort of poster, the DVD cover for Shaun of the Dead. It was uncanny how much they looked like zombies banging on the glass doors. But, what are you going to do? Wait a couple months and they'll all start dying because they're in massive denial. Oh, by the way, tell me if the audio sounds particularly different. Because I got a new microphone. Yes, indeedy. Hold. I should adjust my setting just so you can see my sexy microphone, a Blue Yeti. So I just got this mainly because young Mr. Angry needed a microphone, and I was going to get him a new one. But I thought, hey, you know what? I could get a flash one that I want. And he could inherit my one that I've been using on the live streams, and he was okay with that. So I got my flash new Blue Yeti. So yes. Oh, thanks for the evaluation, Lion Spider. Yeah, I should do a podcast. This is a podcasting microphone. I could. Ooh, okay. See, I could. It's got a couple of different settings. I could do the surround sound one, and then we could have the whole ASMR experience for anyone who's wearing headphones. Hey, Annette, how you doing? And Keiko, how are you? And yes. So, okay. It's good if the audio is better. That is a good thing. Maybe it'll motivate me to get back into podcasting. Yeah, because I had all sorts of grand plans for this here period of isolation, and well, I have done these live streams, not every night, but usually at least 5 nights a week doing live streams. Take a couple nights off for family time. And I did launch the cocktail channel. I'm quite happy with the videos I've done so far. And so, yeah, it all proceeds apace. Hey, I might, as an experiment, I don't know if my camera's got a USB plug. I almost want to go out and test now. I don't know if I could connect this Yeti directly to my camera. Don't know what connectors it has on it. Probably would have a USB connector. I don't know. I will have to check. Oh, yes, Musical Aviator. I saw that the Virgin Australia going into voluntary administration. That's a bit of a thing. That's really... I think, you know what? I should put just a half shot of my chili liqueur in that, and then top it up with lemonade. Wait, I might put another block of ice in it to make it nice and cold. And then, Justin, are we going to become COVID-free fortress? What's going to be very interesting, because we have just really smooshed down the new cases, and I don't think anyone's looking at changing any limitations in less than 2 or 3 weeks. I know in Victoria it's 3 weeks from now. Apparently Daniel Andrews suggested the first things to be relaxed will probably be sport and gatherings. In other words, you can gather with a group of people without it being against the law, and they'll have sport, but I bet they have sport without crowds. But TV sport's worth hundreds of millions of dollars, so they'll probably start up the sport again. Yeah, the idea of being able to go to a friend's place without it being, against the law. And again, if we've got the new cases down to almost zero, realistically, your chances of getting it are really low. And so if they relax, we've had this discussion a couple of times, if they relax a couple things and there's no big spike in cases, then they'll relax a few more things. So I reckon if relaxing gathering rules and sport apparently doesn't cause a spike in cases, I reckon the next thing would be cafes and restaurants allowed to reopen, maybe with some limitations on the number of people to go in and out. And same thing with retail stores. And I think we're a ways off pubs and bars and clubs and being opened, and even further beyond that is major events. And yeah, David, I reckon the border's going to stay shut till we've got either a vaccine or an effective treatment, because you open the borders to international travel and the cases go like that straight away. Yeah, it is not good in the UK, Keiko. I feel very bad for you and my other friends there. It's not good in the US. There are a lot of places around the world where it's not good. I think there are a lot of places where the level of the problem is grossly underreported. Yeah, that's a good point, Justin. If the only new cases are people who came back from overseas who were locked in hotel rooms anyway, so, they'll go from hotel rooms to hospitals, would be good. Like I said, it'll ease over a period of months. It'll go from, release some stuff? Do we get a surge in cases? No, because that's the thing. If we've actually got to the point where there's no significant community transmission, you can release things a bit at a time, and if there's no negative effect, then Bob's right. Although Singapore, who got on top of things very early, also then relaxed things, and they've had a significant spike in new cases as a result. So it remains to be seen. You can't really compare us to Singapore, because Singapore's like a massive, densely populated island city. And even in our cities, we're not packed in like in Singapore. So, we might be lucky. We might have got controls in place soon enough that we can gradually open things up again. But there is always the risk that as you start to release controls, infections go up again. This is the one thing we don't want, is the hospitals to get swamped. Because if the hospitals get overloaded, as we saw in Italy and Spain and New York, people die who don't have to die. And the UK is also not doing well. We need to accept the fact that absent vaccine or a particularly effective treatment, a significant majority of the population are going to get the virus based on the evidence we have, and a certain number of people are going to die. We still don't know what that will be, whether it'll be 1% or 3% or 5%. We just don't know. And I don't think anyone sensible expects us to have a vaccine or effective treatment anywhere less than 12 or 18 months from now. So, that is what it is. So it's like no international travel for a year. So I think gradually other stuff will get relaxed, but international travel's not getting relaxed until there's effective vaccines. Good evening, Stella. Yeah, Justin, we could well be at the forefront of internally returning to normal. Us in New Zealand, mayhap. Was that Light Spider headline in The Atlantic? New Zealand's Prime Minister may be the most effective leader on the planet. Oh, that's nice of them to say. Rain, hello. Some live congratulations as well. Thank you. Thank you. Right, I was going to zing up my drink, wasn't I? Oh, and I'm going to show you what else I got delivered. Well, they're both on the same shelf. That's handy. Right. Just going to put half a shot of my chili liqueur. Anchores Verde. Green chili liqueur. Just like literally, I'm going to put half a shot in. It's not for getting drunk. It's for the really zingy taste. Block of ice. Now another block of ice. Want my drink to be nice and cold. Crack goes the ice. Okay. That's an interesting one, Stella. If we and New Zealand get the all clear, maybe we can have travel between us. A little bit of that. Ooh, let's put a funny color in there. Of course, every single thing we relax increases the risk of new cases. That's why we can't go, hey, we won, relax everything all at once. Because it would really suck to get so close to dealing with it effectively and then fuck it up. That would be to suck-saws. Oh, yep, that's got a bit of zing now. That's a nice way to put it, David. Jacinda Ardern's doing a great job because she talks to the population like a friend who cares, not a dictatorial dickhead. think I missed what you're referring to, Musical Aviator, about a but narcissist. Just that I don't know. I think some of the Pacific Islands are not having such a great go. We will see. The drink, Annette, this is, well, it was just fruit juice. It was a couple different fruit juices. I just put a half shot of the chili liqueur in there just to zing it up, because I did that before and it really livens. It's all at the top, though. I'm going to get a spin. And actually, my stirring spoon is over here. Right, I'm going to put a glass on ice. I just thought of this. I'm going to chill a glass for later, because I'm going to have a little bevy. Woo, that was scary. Right. Da, 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 da. Rain. It's not so much that it's expelled completely, because I expect there to continue to be cases. It's just if we're now consistently getting either no new cases or new cases in the single figures across the states, and if you maintain that for the next couple of weeks, and in fact it's likely to go down, then we have a controlled rate of infection. Not necessarily saying zero, that nobody gets it, although that's possible, because we're closing the borders. We have closed borders, I should say, but a controlled number of infections, because the nature of these things, like the flu, as everyone was fond of saying, the flu kills X number of people every year anyway. But if it's a controlled number of infections, then we'll do much, much better. So that's what we're hoping for. Oh, Misery, you're saying Trump is a butthurt narcissist. There you go. Yes, he is. Oh, I'm going to show you all. This is basically a birthday treat I bought myself, and it arrived today. So just a day late. That's okay. Starwood, Australian spirit maker. They make whiskies, but this is actually a mixed old-fashioned. Makes 10 old-fashioned cocktails. So it's good. The Starwood Old Fashioned is a classic cocktail our team of bartenders have crafted with our Australian whiskey. Perfect balance of sweetness and aromatic spice highlights our red wine barrels, and adds an Australian twist with our own blend of wattle seed bitters. Keep it in the fridge, pour it over ice, share it with friends. So 10 cocktails for about $50, you know. That's like the price of 2 or 3 cocktails, depending where you go. 10 cocktails! And I like an old-fashioned. I'm annoyed with myself. I don't have an orange, and I'm annoyed with myself because I went to the supermarket today, and I even went in there going, I should get an orange to have with my old-fashioned, because the real just making it perfect, you know, the old chef finger kiss is get your orange peel, twist it over the drink so it sprays the orange oil on it, and rub that around the edge, and just that orange aromatics with a whiskey old-fashioned just really puts it over the top, makes it an absolutely fantastic drink. I do have some lime, and that's really not traditional. But I might try it anyway. But yeah, in the second half, I'm going to have an old-fashioned. Stella, has anyone got stats for the flu? What affected social distancing? Well, it's not a black and white thing. See, Stella, okay, Starwood whiskey, yeah, you just have it on ice, you know, it's the thing. But this isn't just whiskey. This is actually pre-mixed old-fashioned. So it's got They're wattle seed bitters. So particularly Australian version of an old fashioned in here with Australian whiskey and Australian native flavored bitters. I've got an Australian lime there, maybe that. So I'm going to try this in the second half. Looking forward to that. But I mean, you can do a comparison of, Australia or New Zealand to places that really fucked it up. Going to the old. Let's do the share screen. We'll do it early rather than later. I shouldn't end on bummers. We should do the heavy stuff up front and just have fun towards the end. But the COVID map from Johns Hopkins coming up. Oh my god, it was only the other day we hit 2 million cases, and we're coming up on 2.5 million. Probably be 2.5 million tomorrow. US 760,000. US doing its best to still be 1/3 of all cases in the world. 165,000 deaths. The US testing rate is not going up at all. The number of, according to Johns Hopkins, still less than 4 million tests, so barely 1% of their population tested. That is shithouse. That is absolutely shithouse. But yeah, you look at, you want a comparison. Oh, and the, bring up the Google one. They have the rate of infection set out quite nicely. Let me see. Come on. What are you doing? Right. So if I change the screen and show the Google one. Make the numbers bigger. Okay, so yeah, this worldwide number's skewed because of the bullshit number from China, quite honestly. But you look, number of cases per million people. The US has got 2,300. Spain's worse, 4,200. Italy's worse, 2,900. Germany's a bit better at 1,700. UK 1,800. France 1,600. France 1,000. Yeah, so they're all quite similar. Turkey 1,000. See that number, 59 from China. Don't believe that at all. Iran, I don't really believe them either. Russia, I definitely don't believe them. Belgium, that's a bad rate, 3,400. Brazil, absolute fucking lies from the fascist in charge in Brazil. Canada, 923. Netherlands, twice as bad as Canada. Switzerland, almost twice as bad as Netherlands. Portugal, pretty bad too, coming up on 2,000. That number on India is complete bullshit. They're just not testing anyone. India's another place that's going to go to fucking hell in a handbasket. Peru, Ireland, 3,000. That is not good numbers. Sweden keeps going up, 1,300. That's an interesting. But again, what good does social distancing do? Well, you look at culturally similar countries. US, 2,300. UK, 1,800. We find our way down to Australia, wherever the hell that is. Dun, dun, dun. Trying to find it. Hope I haven't gone past it. It's deaths. It's cases. Okay. Well, there you go. New Zealand. It's got a rate of 222 infections per million population. That's basically 1/10 of the US. Where's Australia? Australia, I missed Australia, I think. Why can I not find Australia? Oh, there's Australia. 257. So statistically, relatively close to the New Zealand infection rate. 257 to, again, basically in terms of infection rate, the US is 10 times worse than Australia and New Zealand. That is an indicator of the difference proper management can make. And the disturbing thing is, I think the US is only going to get worse. If we look at another telltale number is this little chart. This is just consistently, the US is finding 30,000 new cases a day. It just keeps happening. The number keeps being about 30,000 new cases a day, with a little variation. But you can see that's been going up at an alarming and consistent rate for a couple of weeks now. And I worry that late April and May is actually going to be worse because of all the fucking foolishness that's going on there. The other one whose chart would be worth looking at, well, actually, the UK chart. Let's see that inside. It's, how much is it going up a day? 109 to 115, 221. Okay, so the UK one is, for the last couple of days, has been going up about 6,000. Nowhere near as bad as going up 30,000 a day. But an interesting one, because it got held up as someone who was, look, they're not going too far. Sweden, because they didn't put very tight limits on anything. And they're going up, 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 up. So it's that 11.9K, 12.5K, 13.2K, 13.8K, 14.4K. So yeah, the rate of infection is going up in Sweden. And yeah, if you compare that to Australia or New Zealand, look at that wonderful, we had the spike, and last couple of weeks, look at that wonderful flattening line. Oh my God, that's amazing. And New Zealand one's even flatter, I think. There's New Zealand. No, Australia's might be better. But yeah, you got that flattening, whereas those other ones, the UK, US, Sweden, they're just going up. They haven't arrested the rate of new infections at all. So yes, Stella, America, fuck yeah. USA number one in COVID-19 deaths. It's just absolutely, all those people in the southern states, they're about to get hit very hard. There's been those foolish people, and they're a really small minority. They are not representative. They're just very loud. But those southern states in particular are about to have the shit hit the fan. It's really not going to be good what happens there in the next month. Hey, Caleb, how are you going? Adele, yes, we should do more testing. But that's what the next couple of weeks will be about. I think also we need a double barrel thing. Like, okay, if in 2-3 weeks the various states say, all right, I think we can relax A and B. And the suggestion apparently came from Daniel Andrews in Victoria today, that in Victoria, the first things to be relaxed would probably be gathering in groups, as in socializing with your friends, not major events, just socializing with your friends, and sport, apparently, although I'll warrant that's sport with no spectators. and then they see what happens from there. That's the thing. There's a lead time of 3-4 weeks. You have to wait 3-4 weeks to be sure what the effect of a change is. So the complete relaxation is not going to be in a hurry. I mean, I think in practical, schools. I bet Daniel Andrews relaxes about schools as well. It's going, okay, yeah, kids should go to school. Okay, I bet that happens sooner rather than later. I think for general workers, it will still be, hey, if you can work from home, keep working from home. But then they'll relax things and say, hey, retail can act more or less like normal, but maybe limit the number of people in the stores, and cafes and restaurants can reopen with certain restrictions in place. I think that will probably happen in the next couple months, maybe sooner. I do think it will be a while, like some goodly months. We would have to get like no new cases or very limited number of new cases for months before they open pubs and bars and clubs again. That would be my guess. That will take a while. I could easily be wrong, but I would be really surprised. See, that's the other thing, is traditionally winter is the worst time for influenza anyway. Lots we don't know about this virus. We don't know if the warmer northern hemisphere is going to help them at all, where many of the worst hit places are in the northern hemisphere. We don't know if it will help them at all. There's some hope it will, but we honestly don't know. We don't know if winter will make it worse here or how much worse. We just don't know. And that's why we can't rush into anything. But I'd be surprised if you could go out for drinkies sooner than about 3 months from now. So what are we? May, June. I'd be surprised if we could go out for drinkies before the end of July. Like, things would have to be going so fucking well. Yeah, I'd be very surprised if you could go out for drinkies before the end of July. Hey, I could easily be wrong, but I would be surprised. And then probably the last big one are major events, sport, concerts, big gatherings. I don't think that'll happen before summer at the very earliest. I don't think they'll take that risk before September. This is fun. I'm just my predictions are based on nothing apart from me fucking guessing. We'll see how accurate my guesses are. Hey, Mr. Grant Gregory, it's your great-grandfather's 112th birthday. He passed away 14 years ago. That's a good innings, 98. That's a fine innings from your great-grandfather. And hello to you as well, Nug. Still, you want the protesters again? Well, I had to admit there was a very weird feeling when you were like, oh, evangelical pastor who said coronavirus was a hoax designed to hurt Trump died from the virus. It's like, sorry, I didn't laugh. That would be mean. I see music elevator. Once we relax the number of people amount to go, the classical music concerts could potentially perform to no audience. Like, they could do live streams or whatnot, which, they were doing just before we completely shut down any social interaction. We might relax it to the point where orchestras can do performances. Bands could do live streams as well. That type of thing. Betty Wallaby, hello to you. And Catherine, yes, we're going into winter. Well, okay. See, that's interesting. Catherine, you're being even more cautious than me with predictions. because apparently the first relaxations are going to happen in May, like 3 weeks from now. And that's assuming we continue to get like very minimal new cases. And yeah, then it'll be a case of see what happens. Well, probably for the rest of May, 3 weeks after that. Daniel Andrews said May 11 is when the current restrictions will be reviewed. Release them a little bit, see what effect that has. And you have to wait 3 or 4 weeks to have a consistent indicator of what the change has done. And then you do some relaxation beyond that. And then you have to wait another 3 or 4 weeks to do that. So I was saying that I reckon maybe in June, general retail, cafes, restaurants would be allowed to operate, but with the sort of restrictions they had just before everything got completely restricted. So I'm being a bit more I'm saying by the end of June we might see that. I'd be very surprised if you could go out for drinkies like pubs, bars, clubs. I'd be very surprised if they would be open for business before the end of July. You might be right. You absolutely might be right about September, actually. But I don't reckon major events definitely won't be happening till well into summer, at least September. But we will see. I remember you saying, Music Cave, you saw the Conservatorium do a Mozart Requiem, and there was a lot of problems with lag, but still good. Yes, Catherine, there's a few, the Melbourne Symphony Orchestra and a few others have been doing some good live streams. Oh, yeah, no, Rain, I don't mean full-scale concerts. I mean even simple things. I forget where you are, actually, but, like, for instance, here in Australia, we have a radio network called Triple J, the Youth Network, national broadcaster, paid for by taxpayers. It's an absolutely fantastic service, broadcast nationally. And they used to have a thing every Friday they called like a version where a recording artist would come into the studio and do a cover version of a song. And they can't do that now because that many people can't come this year. But when I was saying concerts, I meant just the band getting together and doing a live stream, not a full-scale concert. So something that would probably involve, for an average band, logistically 10 or 20 people, I suppose. And if the restrictions are such that 10 or 20 people can gather, then I think they'll do that. No, do you want to deal with the public that's been stuck indoors for 3 months? It is a weird thing. What was the joke someone did? Rain, you're in Estonia. Thank you. Thank you. I had blanked on where you were from. I don't know who first made the joke, but they were referring to what will happen when all the when people are allowed to go out again. It'll be in the future, it will be referred to as the fucking. And someone saying, someone imagining themselves in the future saying, my grandkids don't even know why we celebrate the fucking every year. To them, it's just another party. They don't remember what it was like. I hope that catches on, that when social restrictions are lifted, we mark the day and it is known as the fucking for future generations. Pity Wallaby. Triple J is the only radio station I'll listen to in Australia. I tend to listen to it in my car. I've still got, look at me. I'm just slowly working through my juice with its little zingy thing. And I'm just like, I want to try the Starwood. Maybe I should smell it. How's this? Oh, yeah, that's how the seal works. All right. I also feel good because I'm supporting Australians. It's funny how many ads there are saying like, yeah, you should like get takeaway delivered to your house. Because that makes you a good. Oh, it's got a cork. It's got to make the good noise. With my new microphone, catching it in beautiful fidelity. Very light, Ram. Oh, Stella, you're at the exchanging flirty texts with your ex stage of isolation. I said it on Twitter like a couple of weeks ago. I want to say it again. Like, hey, how horny are the single people now? And a few people told me to fuck off. And quite right. But yes. Yeah, David, I am not that much of a social butterfly. No, it was horrible. It was after the lockdowns. The public came out and they were thirsty. They were hungry to socialize. All those poor bartenders and waiters never stood a chance against that horde. Yeah. Was like I had a date night on Saturday night with Mrs. Angry, an at-home date night, but we got takeaway from an upmarket place that we often go to for date nights called Alona Stolla. And, not as beautifully presented as when you're there at the restaurant, but the food was still really good. We went the whole way. We got 3 courses. We got an entree, a main, and a dessert. And I made the cocktails. The place like, yes, I'm doing something really decadent, but I feel like a good person. I'm a good person for having done this because I'm supporting a business that needs support. Pretty Wallaby is stressed about with the restrictions lifted, people being total asses. That is true. I think, do you reckon we'll be much less tolerant of people being dickheads? Because we've been isolated. The far and away the best thing about being isolated is not having to put up with dickheads. And so if we all get out there and it's like, hey, I'm free to go out and do things anymore, then you suddenly realize you have to put up with dickheads again. And as Petit Wallaby says, very likely a certain sort of person behaving even worse than normal. And you've gone with not having to put up with that sort of dickhead for a couple of months. And then suddenly they're up in your face. That just doesn't seem good, does it? That does not seem good. David, you highlight one of the really sucky things about the isolation, not being able to visit aged parents or grandparents, and that is among the worst aspects of this. So I feel for you on that. That's particularly shitty. So we're agreeing our resistance to dickheads will have suffered. We don't have an immunity. We're trying to get to that stage where we slowly build up a herd immunity to coronavirus, but no one's thinking about we've lost our immunity to dickheads. We've lost our ability to ignore and deflect dickheads, and the dickheads will be worse than ever. Oh, no, you work in hospitality. God damn. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it'd be good to get paid, but I think it could be very stressful for a while. Like it's like cleaning your bullshit filter, your tolerance goes down. Yeah. I think I'm even just thinking of, if and when go back to work, because I think for quite a while in my line of work, office work, they're going to be doing remote working for as many people as possible. I mean, who fucking knows? But I feel like if and when I go back to commuting, crowded trains or trams, that's going to be a fucking... I never liked it. But it's going to be a fucking nightmare. Oh, David, this is sad. He had a stroke in March, but she rallied. Oh, dude, yeah. No, that fear of not being able to see a parent or grandparent again, that is definitely one of the worst aspects of our current bullshit. How many different names can come up? You know, sometimes I just say because of coronavirus or COVID-19 or the Rona, or I often just refer to the situation or the current bullshit. It's just... How many other things can refer to the circumstances, the unpleasantness? It's just... oh my God, shelf warmer. Oh God, you hit the nail on the head there. Having to deal with someone in person going on about the coronavirus being a conspiracy, that would be fucking intolerable. And because, particularly if you look in somewhere like Australia or New Zealand, that seems like it's going to handle it very well and we're going to maintain some level of control, we'll really have to put up with the bullshit artists. Oh, there was no reason. And it's like the only reason, if we do maintain this level of control, the only reason we will have done it is because of the extreme measures. You know, I don't want to be mean, but it's almost a relief that there are some parts of the world where it's really fucked, because you can point to it and go, no, you fucking moron. See, us here, because of the extreme measures, them there didn't do it. Shit, look what's happening. But then again, with conspiracy theorists, there's no talking to them. I pity well, that's the thing. I don't want to go on the public transport. Don't want to drive. It's just going into the city in a car. Parking's hard to get and really expensive. The biggest thing would be very hard to get, because more people than usual would be doing it. Yeah, David, send a link would add to the depression. Well, I hope you get at least some mild distraction from our live streams. Yes, Adele. Oh, you want to smack everyone minimizing it? I seriously want some terrible punishment for the people who belittle or even attack the health workers. I just see people doing shit online, and apparently health workers are reporting, you know, being harassed. Like if they're in public in their scrubs or something, being harassed or threatened. And just with the conspiracy theorists saying there, you know, because you see pictures or videos of the people working in a hospital, God forbid, trying to have a bit of fun when they have a moment's peace and doing dance routines and one another, and these absolute fucking scum of the earth attacking them for it. They're the people I want something bad to happen to. Fuck that. Yeah, Stella, Bolt is a perfect thing. Like, oh, see, we didn't have to do it because they don't. But that's the thing. There is still, despite the fact we've seen the scale of things getting worse, people don't get it. Noog, you got to go do some chores. Take care, my friend. Yeah, Catherine, I wouldn't be surprised if health workers got told to change into regular clothes. There's been some awful stories about them being harassed and threatened. But yeah, now I've got distracted and I forgot what I was saying. My brain hurts. I forgot what I was saying. What was I saying? Oh, the thing that I find disconcerting is the number of people. And these aren't necessarily people who are minimizing the severity of the situation, but people who aren't able to think beyond now. It's like, this is the current, wherever they are in the world, it's like, okay, this is the current status, and they think it's always going to be like this. And go, no, we almost definitely won't get a vaccine for at least 12 to 18 months. We have, in fact, never developed a vaccine for a coronavirus, any of the novel coronaviruses. And hello, Lisa and Ken. Hello. Ken, you don't smoke, but you still look like you do. That's a thing. That's a thing. Sometimes, I think if I take my glasses off, I ever see, are my eyes bloodshot? Look bloodshot. Sometimes my eyes get really bloodshot, and not from smoking or anything. Shelf woman, look at Andrew Bolt. Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, there's definitely something missing with Andrew Bolt. Sometimes I think it's a shovel, but there's definitely something missing with that fucking piece of shit. It's just horrible. So horrible. I got one off your Facebook, something about a shovel. I'm always bringing up shovels. See, Peter Wellaby, that's always been my thing of catharsis. If I do the thing where I go off at someone, because it's frowned upon to be angry. So I do the angry so you don't have to. I don't want to rush the orange juice. I don't want to gulp it down and feel sick. But on another hand, I really want to try the Starward. We'll see. All right, I'm going to do something over here. Going to improvise because a bit of citrus with a old-fashioned is good. Orange is best. Some people say lemon's okay. Lime's not really recommended, but it's all I have. So I'm going to try it. Ashoka, vegans do get COVID-19. Veganism actually, depending, it's perfectly possible to be an unhealthy vegan. But if you're one of the healthy vegans, it's harder. You're less likely to get sick in general. But viruses aren't that discerning. You might be able to argue that a healthy vegan is less likely to have a severe complication from COVID-19. We don't have any evidence to support that. Big Bad Ads, participating in the consumption of the weeds. It's 420, bro. You do it. Hello, Brandon. Hello to you. Yeah, Stella, that does sound a bit like Peter talk, but viruses don't work that way. There are too many variables. A healthy person may or may not have a better chance of not suffering serious complications from this or other viruses. But the idea of saying it's an absolute protection is a long way from reality, is just silly, in fact, because that's not how viruses work. Yeah, hey, being healthy is better than not being healthy. To make a simple point, it's kind of like if one activity is 80% safe, that's quite risky. If there's a 20% chance, if you do the thing, something bad will happen. That's actually quite high risk, and you'd have to be really into, like that's like skydiving is not even a 20% risk, but the real crazy stuff, base jumping and flying in those wingsuits, that's an obvious, very high risk activity. But walking down to the shops, you might get hit by a car. It's very, very, very low risk, but it's not zero risk. And that's the sort of difference. It's like, it's not a guarantee. It's like, okay, I'm not base jumping in a wingsuit, so I'm never going to die. Well, no, that's not how it works, because even though your lifestyle would be much, 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 much lower risk, risks still exist. Yes, Brennan, playing Frogger in real life. Boop, 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 in and out of the traffic. I heard because there are less cars on the road, some of the people who are in cars are driving pretty silly and getting busted by the cops, like in LA, where they actually had quite strict lockdown laws, and there was much less traffic on their notoriously congested freeways. The cops reported last month a 30% increase in fines for high-end speeding, like, going 30 to 50 miles above the speed limit. So a 30% increase when there was actually a 90% decrease in the number of vehicles on the road. Brandon, the thing about eating is risky because you could choke. That's an actual real statistic. Like people who say, I'm scared of sharks, I'm scared of getting attacked and killed by a shark. You statistically are actually much more likely to die while you're eating a shark than you are by being attacked by a shark, because shark is, of course, served in a lot of fish dishes around the world, and statistically far more people choke to death while eating shark than people die who are attacked by sharks. People are very, very bad at estimating risk, basically. Oh God, Brennan, people running red lights when you're crossing. I hate that. Yeah, that's it. We call it flake, Stella, rather than shark, but yes. Oh no. David, when you're young and dumb, ran a motorcycle at 250 kilometers an hour in a 120, 110 k zone. There was a guy, this was like 10 years ago, possibly longer, in Sydney. There's a tunnel that goes under the harbour. Got lots of speed cameras in it. There was this guy who, at irregular times, like 2 or 3 in the morning, and he wasn't doing it every night, and he wasn't doing it at the same time, he's varying it, but every now and then he would, on his motorcycle, and he'd be wearing like leathers with no discerning features on it and a helmet with no discerning features, and he'd cover his number plate, and there was no real noticeable special features on a bike. It was like a production bike, and he would go screaming through the harbour tunnel at like 250 kilometers an hour and out the other side, and then just kind of disappear. And he was doing this for months, and because they couldn't catch him because you don't have cops there, and they would get him on the cameras, but they had no idea who it was. And he was doing this for months, if not years. He was doing it for such a long time, and he did finally get caught. And when he went to court, his defense, such as it was that he was having real problems with depression, and it was like the only thing that made him feel alive, give him any purpose, was to do this thing on the bike, go screaming through the harbour tunnel at 250 kilometers an hour. Don't think it worked. I don't think he got jailed, but he would have got fined a lot, and bike confiscated and license confiscated and all that. But yes, people do strange things, basically. So I think, yeah, I won't go into too much detail, but I definitely did. Ashoka, you sound dumb as fucking shit, okay? I'm just going to say it. Continually saying that thing about vegans being immune to coronavirus makes you sound like an absolute, utter fucking moron. Like, it's not slightly silly. You sound like a fucking moronic, brain-dead cunt, okay? And it's boring and repetitive, and you are fucking stupid. I don't know if you're trolling or if you're actually that fucking stupid, but all you come across as is an absolute brain-dead, gibbering fucking moron. It's just like, Christ, what compels people to be that fucking stupid? Ah, yes, the Autobahn. That's the fascinating one. Musical elevator. That's a killer line. It's because the vegans were already social isolating. The Autobahn is an interesting one. That no speed limits, and of course they have really high performance cars in Europe. I remember being told by a friend who went there, and he specifically wanted to go on the Autobahn, and he was in some fairly up there Mercedes, and he said he was hammering along on the Autobahn. Like, he's doing 200 kilometers an hour, which, if you're used to driving in Australia where, the maximum legal speed's 110, 200 is like freaky fast. And he's going in this, and it's, really high-end Mercedes, so it's very smooth. And he said he's just tooling along at this speed, and it's like an Italian sports car just hurled past him like he wasn't. Like, it's one of those cars that can go like 350 kilometers an hour or something. He's flying, and this car just shot past him. He felt like he wasn't moving the speed it went past him. And just what people do on the Autobahn. I was like, wow. And water dripping is really distracting me. That's what I get for doing my live streams in the kitchen. Yeah, Brendan, I think that might be it. That why some depressed people do engage in very risky behavior triggers a dopamine release, serotonin. It's not good for you to do the really serious risk-taking activity, obviously, because it's risky. But to a degree, it's quite understandable. You're trying to feel something. You're trying to get some sort of surge out of life. So you go into really risk-seeking behavior. Yes, not the most productive thing to do, but you can see why someone would do it. But humans are odd. We're weird. We're all weird. I'm sure pretty much all of us do something that we think is normal that someone else thinks is really weird. And the thing is, someone goes, not me, I don't do anything weird. That's weird. To those of us who are weird, if you're super normie, that's weird. So everything, no matter who we are, no matter what we do, there's someone who thinks we do something that's really weird. It's like a little thought experiment that I gave people to think on. It's like, think of your favorite creator, your favorite artist, whatever they happen to be. It's Bruce Forsyth. Oh, I haven't seen you in ages, Harb. Not since Bruce Forsyth died, I don't think. But anyway, the thought experiment I put to people once, I'll put it to you now. Think about your favorite artist, whether they're literally a visual artist, whether they're a musician, classical musician, rock star, pop star, whether they're an actor, whether they're a writer, whatever sort of creative they are. Think of your favorite creator, the person you admire the most, not just enjoy their stuff. Maybe you really admire, you think they're a wonderful person. There are people in the world who think that's the worst fucking person on the planet. They despise everything about them. They despise what they create. They despise them as a person. They think they're the worst, most fucked person going. And that's the simple truth, because that's the diversity of humanity. The person that you think is the best, someone else thinks is the worst. So taking that on board, it's worth considering when you think of someone and you think they're the worst, you think they're terrible, maybe your judgment's not completely fair. Maybe it is. But if you can keep that in your mind when you're thinking someone else is the worst, the absolute pits, the sucksaws, they're evil, they're terrible, they're untalented, why ever you think they're the worst, someone else thinks the same about who you do. So maybe you're being too harsh. Trump, yeah, he's a pretty vile person. I'm having trouble. Well, he managed to turn the Republican Party into his bitch. That's no small achievement. Okay, Brendan, you brought up Justin Bieber. I'm not a Justin Bieber fan. Even as a person, he seems to have done some terrible things. But Justin Bieber is a really talented multi-instrumentalist. One of my favorite things was people doing this stupid thing of comparing Frank Sinatra to Justin Bieber, saying, Frank Sinatra is awesome and Justin Bieber's terrible. Now, I'm just going to look up Frank Sinatra's Wikipedia. I don't think Frank Sinatra played any instruments. Francis Albert Sinatra. I love that it was his real name too. Frank Sinatra sounds like a stage name. This is his real name, Francis Albert Sinatra. I don't think he played any instruments. Did Frank Sinatra play an instrument? Was Frank Sinatra skilled in any instruments? Oh, get fucked, you wanker. Someone answered, he considered the microphone to be an instrument. Go fuck yourself, you fucking clown. You're a fucking clown. Frank's instrument was his voice. Get fucked. That's not what's being asked. Played ukulele. Okay, so it confirms. Frank Sinatra was not a musician. I didn't think he was. He was a brilliant entertainer. He was also a fucking hack. He would do anything for money, okay? He had no artistic standards. He did some of the shittiest songs in the world just to make money, okay? He has no artistic credibility. He was a brilliant entertainer, possibly one of the best entertainers of the 20th century. He was a brilliant entertainer, but he was a fucking hack. He was a hack. He would do anything for money. Justin Bieber is a really skilled multi-instrumentalist. I do not like Justin Bieber at all. But the people who want to do comparisons to Frank Sinatra and Justin Bieber and say Frank Sinatra's brilliant, Justin Bieber sucks. They're full of shit. That's actually just weird, fragile masculinity bullshit. I will go on board as saying, yeah, Frank Sinatra was up there as one of the best entertainers of the 20th century. At the same time, he's a fucking hack. He did some of the worst shit you can think of. His worst is much worse than Justin Bieber's worst, quite honestly. His best is much better than Justin Bieber's best, but his worst is much worse. So, yeah, Shelfwarmer. Bieber's worst because he has pretty much done the same, wasting his skills. Sinatra had some bad patches. He didn't waste his talents like Dean Martin. Dean Martin's drank away most of his talent. But Frank Sinatra had some very shitty stretches. Very shitty stretches. If he didn't have the mafia backing, he would have been gone for all money. Yeah, Justin Bieber sucks. Having said that, I'm going to listen to Frank Sinatra at his best a long time before I'll listen to Justin Bieber at his best. You know, a Justin Bieber fan can show me anything and I'm like, yeah, cool. I'm not interested. Oh, dear. Harvey's son got kidnapped. That's right. Ooh, Stella. Love the hot takes. Bobby Darin had a better voice than Sinatra. Lots of people had a better voice than Sinatra. Lots of people had a better voice than Sinatra. Precious few people were a better entertainer than Frank Sinatra. It's not really my cup of tea, but I can recognize his talent at what he was doing. So, yeah, I will go along with Frank Sinatra was one of the best entertainers of the 20th century, but he didn't have the musical talent Justin Bieber does, and he was a fucking hack. You can say, oh, Justin Bieber just does commercial shit. No, Frank Sinatra did much worse purely commercial shit than Justin Bieber ever did. You know, Maresy Doos, and Hairs Doos, and Kiddly Davy Doo. Just real fucking shit, Frank Sinatra. And God, don't get me started on Sammy Davis Jr. actually recorded an album that was paid for by the Alka-Seltzer company, the antacid. He actually did a whole album that just had all these cheesy songs on it, but had actual commercials for Alka-Seltzer on the album. That was the level of artistic integrity the Rat Pack had, okay? Dean Martin would do anything for drinking money. Frank Sinatra would do anything for money when he was desperate. Fucking Sammy Davis did an album sponsored by Alka-Seltzer. Just like, nah. They had no integrity at all. Yes, Annette, Frank's Christmas specials look cheesy as fuck. Yeah, Shelfwarmer, Sammy Davis, they were all talented. Dean Martin, super talented. Frank Sinatra, super talented. Sammy Davis, super talented. Also, absolute sellout hacks, all of them. Which I don't hold against them. Man's got to make a living. Someone gave me a chance to be a sellout hack. I'd do it like that. No one's ever offered me the money, though. So, David, I love that. That is an excellent hot take. Willie Nelson is one of the best musicians to come out of the USA. He's almost America's poet laureate, really. Yeah, Stella, you're right. They were basically owned by record companies. Like the old movie stars were basically owned by the studios. They had very little choice in what they did. All right, I'm going to prep. Rain, if they were alive, they'd get Me Too'd ultra fast. I think they pretty much got outed for being gross, abusive womanizers at the time. It's just no one cared. You could get away with it. I'll get this lime ready for my old-fashioned. Very unorthodox, as I said. I'll get most of this off. Well, that's not working at all. Oh well. I've got my chilled glass. I'm gonna put some ice in. Tie my dog to a railroad track. Choo-choo train's gonna break his back. Who's a Young Ones fan here? You want to do a fans only, Mega Leech? Everyone's doing fans only these days. I could do a fans only. Chubby chasers will come after me. We all know what chubby chasers are, don't we? I could probably have quite the market. Right, for those who missed earlier, this is a birthday present I got myself. Starwood are an Australian whiskey maker. They possibly make other spirits as well. But this is not just whiskey. This is an old-fashioned. Greg, I thought you'd know them. So an old-fashioned is basically just sweetened whiskey with bitters. And this has got Australian wattle seed bitters in it. So this is a very Australian tipple. Adele, you're saying the remake of Final Fantasy VII is good. Never really played any of the Final Fantasy games. So I'm going to give myself a decent 2 ounce. How many mils is that? 60 mils. I think I'm meant to do 50 mils, but I'm going to do 60 mils. 2 shots. Pour that over. Make the ice crackle. All right. Shuffle here. I show. Oh, the aroma's just wafting up at me already. Oh, that smells good. Now, I'm just going to try this before I put the lime in it. That's very good. Very warming, as a whiskey tends to be. Now, as an experiment, a little whiskey, lime rind. Let's see if I can squeeze some lime oil in there and get a bit of lime happening. Definitely going to have to remember to get an orange and have this on another live stream with orange, because orange is the best thing to add to an old-fashioned. There you go. Adele's recommending wine, and I'm not a wine drinker, as you know. Recommend Good Pear Days. Nice. Yes, Harb. You know who else was talented? Bruce Forsyth. It needs to be a musical of some sort about him. I should have written down all that shit we were saying about Bruce Forsyth. Okay. Lime doesn't really go with it. That's okay, though. Got to get some orange for later in the week. So having man say it's good, you don't move over the bed who pushes. What? Having a man say it's good, you don't move over the bed with every push isn't romantic. Oh, Frank, if we're doing it, Frank Zappa. Bigger the cushion, the better the pushing. A whiskey ASMR, yeah, it does the really, really satisfying pop, this bottle. It's not actually a cork, it's plastic. But it's fitted that well that you get the pop. Ah, shit, that was almost a disaster. Yeah, it's just, it's plastic rather than cork. But you do get that satisfying pop when it comes out. Yes, Harb, gotta love a guy who names his kid Dweezil and Moon Unit. Shellformer, you were just before John. Oh, John, is that John Cooper Clarke you're talking about, or? Oh, this is actually pretty. I'm not that big a whiskey drinker, but this is like an old fashioned is one of the simpler cocktails that I would actually classify as a cocktail. You say, like, vodka and orange is technically a cocktail. It's got a name, the screwdriver. Rum and Coke is technically a cocktail. It's got a name. But that's a stretch, calling a spirit mixed with soft drink or whatever. Oh, John Clark. Sorry. Yes, Clark and Daw. Yeah, Fred Dagg, John Clark, the best. And there are so many John Clark videos on YouTube that, particularly the Clark and Daw videos, are so good. Oh, Annette, why did I bring up the young ones? I got distracted because when I was thinking of Frank Sinatra, the way the young ones used to have those weird aside bits that would go on for anywhere from 2 seconds to 30 seconds to maybe a couple minutes, and then they'd be gone, and it was nothing to do with the story. One point, they were watching TV, and it was like a Frank Sinatra Christmas special, except the characters were called Dickie and Dino, and Dickie and Dino. And you saying the young ones earworm got in here. The one that got into me was the song that they sing in the Dickie and Dino hour, where you go, I'm tying my dog to a railroad track. Choo-choo train's gonna break his back. Yeah, they used to call him Spot, but now they call him Splat. That's the kind of person we are. That got stuck in my head. So there you go. There you go, Shellformer. You know it. There you go. Oh, yeah, David, the front fell off. That is the absolute classic Clark and Daw, the front fell off. About a boat where the front fell off. And for those who aren't familiar, I pity you, but there's this style of comedic faux interview that Clark and Daw, John Clark and Brian Daw. Brian Daw plays the straight man, the interviewer, and actually John Clark plays the super straight man being interviewed. They developed this style. They did a few variations of it before they hit on a thing that was basically John Clark would be, he's being interviewed, he's a specific person. Sometimes he's a fictional person, but sometimes he's the prime minister or another government minister or someone. But he's always just being John Clark. He's got no costume, no makeup. He's not attempting an impression at all, and he does it completely deadpan. And it is an absolutely unique form of satire. And okay, got to go. Okay, I'm going to show it at the risk of incurring something terrible from YouTube. I'm going to go Clark and Daw. I bet the first one that comes up is the front fell off. Here it is. 5.3 million views. It's an old video, so it's really low res. Is the volume on? Yep. So I've got to share the screen. This is a couple minutes of sheer brilliance. It's absolutely nonsensical, and it's absolutely brilliant. Clark and Daw, the front fell off. No, it's not going to work. I don't have the bandwidth. God damn it. It's not going to work. Fuck it. I'm going to have to do it another time when I've got the cable. Oh, well. But look it up. Clark and Daw on YouTube. You can go into for ages. Yes, Shellformer, that stuff. God, we're the same vintage. Remember him from the Gillies report. The first couple of ones he did, he would wear these absolutely weird bird costumes. The first one I remember, he was being Jeff Kennett, and he was dressed up as a galah. And fully weird, surreal things. And and then at some point it mutated, and they worked out this thing where John Clark would be the same in every interview. It's just John Clark sitting there, no costume, no makeup, no attempt to imitate the person, and just delivering all his responses absolutely deadpan, absolutely the same way every time. And it's fucking hilarious. It is so funny. And on paper, it does not sound funny, but it's like, oh, John Clark was a New Zealander. So I would say it is without doubt the best satire ever produced on Australian television. And it's not even close. It's not even close. The gap between John Clark and the next in line is just enormous. But yeah, there are so many of them on YouTube, and he's even older stuff. Like he's John Clark's always had this deadpan thing. One of his first characters that he did for New Zealand TV, Fred Dagg, again, really, really funny stuff. Oh yes, I remember Australia You're Standing In It. The ABC has had some very good ensemble sketch comedy shows over the years. Australia You're Standing In It, Gillies Report, The D-Generation. These days they've got what's it called? Is it just called Black Comedy? With the Indigenous writers and performers. Yes, Tim and Debbie were a hoot on Australia You're Standing In It. Oh no, Stella, you found an article titled "There's no shame in wanting to text your ex, but before you do, consider this." What's the thing you do on Facebook? I'm in this picture and I don't like it. Sometimes it's just, oh gosh, it's just so full on. Sometimes stuff's just too painfully close to home. I should definitely experiment with this microphone because it's got 4 modes. I think, I don't know if I'm on stereo or just cardioid now. I didn't even bother to check. I just switched it on. But it also does omnidirectional. So either stereo or omnidirectional would be good for ASMR. There's also bidirectional for if you're bisexual. No, that's if there's 2 people. I always get those confused, bidirectional and bisexual, because I'm fairly easy to confuse, quite honest. Chunky Custard. Oh, God. Dodgy Brothers. We're just all remembering these things. Like, I joined a Facebook group a week or 2 ago called Old School YouTubers, because, it's what I am. And all the people in it sort of reliving memories, and people bring out, oh, remember X, remember Y? And I'm just having such a surge of nostalgia from it. That's wild. Yes, Adele, so long as it's by something. Oh, Brandon, did you not see my microphone? No, this is new. This is the first night I've had this one, the new Blue Yeti. I need to play with it more and get to it. I've been told the audio quality is actually better tonight. So we'll work on doing. I actually go back to my podcast. Now I can do the podcast. I can just talk to it like this. Hey, how you going, everyone? This is something I actually wanted to do on a podcast. And maybe put it on YouTube as well. See how long I can talk like this. Just like, this is a stressful time. And I feel like we just all need to take a bit of time for ourselves. Let's just kick back. I'll just tell you some quiet stories. Maybe some reminiscences. This angry ASMR. I might need a pop shield. Yeah, I might have to invest in a pop shield. And see, if you're getting it clean and crisp on a live stream, imagine how clean and crisp it would be if I pre-recorded it.
Be very clean and crisp. Adele's already yawning. See, this is what I was thinking of doing. Because I saw a funny animation once. I didn't even recognize the character, but it was some animated character saying he talks you to sleep for 10 hours. Because you can put 10-hour videos up on YouTube. And it'd be good for someone who's insomniac. And you could just be with them all night. I was thinking of recording it in 1 hour stints and doing those as podcasts. Just 1 hour, talking gently, a little bit of clinky ASMR as I have a drink to keep my throat lubricated. I'll probably use words like lubricated a lot. And spend an hour just talking quietly, and then do 10 of those and splice them together and put it on YouTube, and just having a angry Aussie talks you to sleep for 10 hours.
That's probably enough of that for now. James Mick, get well soon. Thank you. Just because I've been talking about the dizziness, which has not completely gone away. I was hoping it would have gone away on the weekend. Annette wants me to stop. I've stopped. Yes, Brandon, a 10-hour whiskey ASMR. Just occasionally just shaking ice around. Putting people to sleep. Oh, was that? It's not meant to make you anxious, Annette. It's meant to be relaxing. Is it making you anxious? That's worrying. So yeah, I've still got this bloody, what do they call it? Persistent benign vertigo. Benign's the only favorable word in that description. But it's basically in your ear gets fucked up, and your balance is affected. So you get dizzy when you're just standing still. Worse still when you work. The worst thing I did, because it kicked in on Wednesday last week, it was probably at its worst on Thursday and Friday, and it's been improving over the weekend. I was hoping it'd be gone altogether. It isn't, so I'm still taking the medication. I've got like another 3 days of the prescription to take. Fun fact, I don't know if I said this on another live stream, the medication that I'm taking for this is sometimes also prescribed for schizophrenia. So that's a hoot, because it adjusts your brain chemistry. It is basically a tranquilizer. It dampens, among other things, dampens the brain centers that trigger nausea. So that's why I'm getting it, because I was getting this motion sickness when I wasn't really in motion. Worst thing I did, because even like, okay, sometimes just walking around, like going up my hallway, I'd end up sort of bouncing off the walls because my balance was just so fucked. But the worst thing I did was going through the kitchen. I was going just over there. There's some cupboards up high and the door's open. And as I was walking, I turned my head and looked to see what's up there. And the act of walking in this direction and turning my head in a different direction, my head just went wow, wow, wow. And I almost fell over. It was just the simple act of walking and then turning my head in a direction up that was not the direction I was walking. I almost fell over. Like at its worst, this is the second time I've had it. So I can probably look forward to this fucking thing happening every year or two for the rest of my fucking life as I get old and my body falls apart. But at its worst, like lying in bed, if you roll over in bed, everything lurches and pitches. It's almost like you're on a roller coaster. Like all you've done is roll over and everything goes whoa, whoa, and it feels like you're on a roller coaster, which in a way is actually fun. Just rolling over and then lying there going, whoa, it's kind of fun in a way. And it also sucks in a way, in a very real way. Sucks in a very real way. So I don't recommend it. It's look, on the scale of things, it's pretty goddamn mild. But if I mean, for instance, for reals, like I was saying, it was at its worst Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. If I wasn't already working from home, if I had to go into an office, if I had to commute, I would have been calling in sick. I would not have been able to function. The actual going out, getting to a train or tram and traveling to work, I would not have been able to function. But because I could just stay at home, I did have to lie down a couple of times, but I could do that and still, kind of mostly function for most of the day. So the work from home thing worked out very well for me in this case. Brennan, I like food poisoning. Food poisoning is different. Had that too. Had a stomach virus, probably actually a version of swine flu. Last year, some bastard at VidCon gave it to me. But yes, it's not as violent as food poisoning, but not good. That's the full name. Megaleech, BPPV, benign paroxysmal positional vertigo. There you go. I said the wrong P. That's the full one. Megaleech has jumped on the Googles and found the full name for it: benign paroxysmal positional vertigo. I was calling it persistent. I meant to say positional. So yeah. Oh God, infected teeth are the fucking worst. I don't know. It's probably just psychological, but I feel like because the nerves are so close to your brain, the pain's more intense. Yes. Oh yeah, no, the woozy feeling. Yeah, the dizziness. Yeah, it's just this particular thing. The BPPV is not as violent as food poisoning. There is that very similar dizziness and whatnot, but yeah, it's not as violent. It's apparently it can get worse. Like some people get it, they can't actually walk; they fall over if they try to. I didn't have it that bad, but it's still not great. It is absolutely not. They've got the temptation to have another old fashioned, quite high, but it's only a Monday night, so I won't. I just wanted to taste test it tonight. It's probably not going to last that long. I have one every live stream, and it'll be gone soon. And then I'll probably have to buy another one. Okay, it's a pretty good price, like I said, for something that's. So it's 500 mils. They're saying that's 10 cocktails, 32% alcohol. So it's barely diluted whiskey, basically. And so 10 cocktails would be having 50 mils. I actually did 60 mils, so like 2 ounces, like two shots. So at 60 mils, I wouldn't get 10 cocktails. I would get 8 or 9. I still get 8 or 9. Still get 8 or 9 cocktails. Depending how I poured them, be 8 or 9 cocktails out of for $50. Well, it might have been 55. But still, given in Australia, when you go out, most cocktails are 18 to 20 odd dollars. $55 for 8 or 9 cocktails. Pretty fucking cheap. And it was good. It was good. And I'm not a huge whiskey drinker. Obviously, I like whiskey in cocktails, but I'm not the type of person who really sits back and with the old-fashioned glass and the big chunk of ice and sipping away, or just a bit of water to bring the whiskey alive, as the aficionados say. I was going to call them wankers, but that would be mean. That's not really me. But this one, just there, it's all an old-fashioned is slightly sweetened whiskey with bitters as well. And this is good. basically just tastes like whiskey. Doesn't quite have the burn that a straight whiskey does. Oh, thank you. Megalich, your brother had BPPV and you sent stuff that might help. Thank you very much. I will look at that later. I know there's various techniques you can follow. There's some exercise you can do. Like the doctor actually said, if the medication doesn't work, the thing we can do, we'll send you to a physio, and they do a thing where they do it with your head leaned back and do this thing with your head, which helps you get back to an equilibrium, which I don't think I'm going to have to do. Hasn't gone away completely. But like I said, I've got like 3 more days of my prescription. I am hoping it goes away because it kind of sucks. Like at its worst, it was making me feel sick. Like Wednesday, Thursday, particularly last week, but also a bit on Friday. It was making me feel sick. Was just sort of oof, and it was worst in the morning. Like when I first woke up. I was like, ugh. It was Wednesday when I went to the doctor. Like was it Tuesday when I went to the doctor? I can't remember. Because I think, it was Wednesday I went to the doctor because Tuesday I woke up. It was the first day back at work after Easter, and I woke up and I felt it. I go, oh God, that's that fucking dizziness thing. Like getting out of bed and going to the bathroom, and it's like, that's that dizziness thing, shit. But it went away almost straight away, and I thought, oh, it's okay. And then on Wednesday, it happened, and it did not go away. Petty Wallaby, you're going to bed. Good night. I'm going to bed very soon. It's like 10 to 10. That's a good time to be going to bed. Gotta face another day tomorrow. Let's see. Sing your way through things. And we're doing this thing because all the meetings are like on Skype or whatever you use at the moment. And the boss was saying things like, "Oh, we should have a bit of fun with it. Just keep changing your ID photo, your avatar, because most of us either had nothing or standard sort of work ID photo as the avatar." And the boss said, first he said, everyone should try and get a photo up there. And then he said, after we'd been doing the work from home thing for a while, he said, I have fun with it, just change it to how you're feeling. So I updated it once in the photo. I was still wearing my dressing gown. Although I was out here, I don't think anyone ever noticed because it's sort of cut off here. The big fluffy one I wear on live stream sometimes when I don't get changed at all on the weekend or when I do get changed after work. And then I had like Fat Thor from Avengers Endgame. It's like me in isolation. Betty Wallaby, you are welcome for the rants. It's a thing I do. So I changed it to be, isolation Thor. That was how I was feeling about things. And then one of my team members, he changed it to his drink rack, which I thought was good. And I unsurprisingly have more in mine. So I changed mine to be a shot of one of my drinks carts. And and we had this full team meeting. And the way these things work, when you talk, your little avatar is front and center, is highlighted. And I started talking, like giving a report, and I heard laughter coming from other people. And I thought, did I say something funny? And they went, oh, you're noticing my avatar. And they're laughing. I said, yeah, no, that's actually really my drinks there. And so, then got into a brief sideways discourse about how I like to make cocktails. But yes, most people thought my mood being represented by many bottles of booze was humorous. I didn't tell them that the picture was only half of my drinks. It was one of my 2 drink carts. I didn't tell them that. And so then I decided prior to the next all hands team meeting, I'm going to change it to be the other drink cart and see if anyone notices. I don't think they will. There's no reason they would. It's just a fun little thing if I do the other drink cart and people just think it's the same drink cart because they didn't pay that close attention. It'd be fun if someone does notice, like, because there's quite different drinks on my 2 carts. The original one I had was the one that has the whiskeys and rums and has vodka and gin on it as well. Whereas the other drink cart has the liqueurs and such like. The liqueurs and aperitifs and digestifs. So they're actually quite different bottles. So it's possible someone would notice the difference. I'm a little intrigued to see if they do. We shall see. Oh, but, having said that, I think I might go to Betty Byers, having had a pleasant evening with you fine people. We'll hopefully see you again soon, in all probability tomorrow night, all things being equal. So, Rain, speaking of old YouTube nostalgia, memes used to be called viral videos. Yeah. I think whoever the social scientist who actually coined the term memes is probably really annoyed that silly jokes are called memes now, because that's not what he meant when he meant memes being transmitted ideas virally. Nighty night, one and all. Look after yourselves, because we all need to take a little bit more effort to look after ourselves in these strange days. Even if nothing particularly bad is happening to you, or you feel like compared to other people, nothing particularly bad's happening to you, don't sell yourself short. You need to look after yourself. Not running overtime tonight, Stella, because I don't have 3 Manhattans to drink. For those who were around on Friday, I stayed on for an extra hour because I had so many drinks to drink. And I posted that video in case you missed it. You should check it out on the Angry Cocktails channel. You should subscribe if you're not subscribed. Take care of yourself, one and all. And I hope to see you again soon. But I